This is another Kahan TV Sports Break. We're back. We got another segment with our NBA expert, Vlad Kitajczyk here. Welcome to Kahan TV Studios. We always appreciate having you here. Okay, I want to talk about the Knicks, specifically Charles Oakley getting thrown out of Madison Square Garden. This was an embarrassing moment, to say the least, for an already very embarrassing franchise.
Absolutely.
In the Knicks. I just want to ask you what you made of the whole situation. Did you think it was Charles Oakley's fault? Would you lay any blame on James Dolan, the owner, the Knicks owner, or Madison Square Garden security? Who was in the wrong? And we're gonna have a press conference with Charles Oakley coming up in the next few days. But before we get his take, what was your take on what happened, Vlad? And as far as the information that we have.
I mean, I guess it just depends on who you believe, right? Oakley says one thing, that, they forced him out, they pushed him out, he didn't do anything wrong. And the Knicks say that he was belligerent and angry and, rude to everybody, and they had to get him out of there because he was just belligerent and maybe drunk or intoxicated or who knows what, right? Mentally unstable. And they were saying a whole bunch of things about him. From interviews I've seen of Oakley, it seemed pretty mentally stable to me, so I don't know. If I had to lean a certain way, if I had to pick who was in the wrong, I would have to go towards James Dolan and the Knicks. Why? Because they seem like such a mess. They don't know what they're doing. They're not treating, forget their current players well, probably, but they're definitely not treating their older players that have played for the franchise and given, a lot to that franchise success, clearly not treating them well if they're just kicking them out of the stadium like that.
Well, yeah, Charles Oakley is a big fan favorite in New York from a lot of the old school Knicks fans, a lot of the old school basketball fans.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Charles Oakley from when I was a kid playing with the Knicks. We loved those games. They were hard-nosed players, they were real players. But one thing I heard was that he was already drunk the whole time and that he was trying to pester James Dolan, give him a piece of his mind the whole freaking time. And James Dolan wasn't having it and got really tired of it and got him thrown out of the building. Because really, I mean, he's the owner of the Knicks. If he wanted to, he could have just grabbed him or grabbed the security guard and said, "No, this is Charles Oakley. Are you mad? Don't throw him out of the stadium. This would be a travesty." But he didn't. There's a picture of him just sitting there, literally like ignoring the whole thing, hoping it'll go away. Maybe even setting it up himself.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it is embarrassing for a franchise, for a team to disrespect one. I mean, what if the Lakers threw Magic Johnson out of the Staples Center? Like, sorry, you're drunk and you're bothering Jerry Buss. Like, that would be hilarious.
Right.
But anyways, I mean, do you take any stock into any of that too?
Oh, well, for sure, they were under Dolan's orders to get him out of there. So for whatever reason, whether he's right or wrong, definitely Dolan's choice to say, "Hey, get him out. I don't want him here." I don't know what it is. I mean, Oakley says it's because he's been critical of the Knicks in the past couple years or whatever. I don't know, 5 years or so that he's talked about them, in a negative way. But what other things can you say that's positive about the New York Knicks for the past 20 years? I mean, maybe a little less, but. What could you possibly say that's positive? If you're an old school Knick player, I mean, obviously you're going to be critical of them. So if that's the reason Dolan threw him out, whoa, man, to say that's petty is an understatement. I mean, I hope he's telling the truth in the sense that Oakley was belligerent and just insane. Otherwise, very petty by Dolan to throw out a player that played for your team just because he was critical of the way you've been running the team, especially when the team has been awful for the past 17, 18 years. Ridiculous.
Well, maybe James Dolan was the drunk one. Who knows? I don't know. But we'll find out more in the coming days, maybe. But this really it's a funny story. It's a fun story. We love Charles Oakley. Anytime we could talk about Charles Oakley and throw in some old highlights of him in fights, But this is all really just a big microcosm of the Knicks.
Absolutely.
And how much of a joke of a franchise they are and how silly they've been. And how everything is just bad and wrong from top to bottom.
Oh, yeah.
From the president to the GM to the players to everything. Maybe except the coaching.
Right.
Maybe Jeff Hornacek has been the one stabilizing factor that there haven't been like a 10-win team or something and really fell apart. But the Knicks suck.
Yeah.
They're probably not going to make the playoffs. They're like a little bit out of the playoffs in the East at the moment. They have a chance if they get hot and they start playing well. But it doesn't look like they'll make the playoffs yet again.
I don't think they want to.
And there's so many like bad things happening with Phil Jackson being critical of Carmelo, playing mind games with him. I don't know what that is. Is he just trying to like motivate him and it just went awfully, horribly wrong?
Right.
Or what the heck happened there? But talk about the Knicks. Talk about what you think. I know it's a broad subject, but talk about what you really think is the most important thing that is making this a bad. Because they don't seem like a bad team on paper. They got Carmelo, they got Porzingis, they've got some role players that do well sometimes. And, what is keeping them from making this actual like winning team? It's they're not far from it in the East. They only need a few more wins to be a mid-table playoff team. Or be a 4 or 5 or 6 seed. They're not far from that, but there's something holding this team back, and there's a lot of drama. Yeah. And where would you say the blame lies?
It lies in like the whole organization is to blame for everything. I don't know I don't know if I could put it on just one person, because you've got Carmelo, who has been with the Knicks for a while now, but Carmelo has been. He's not a winning player. Let's just put it that way. I'm not gonna go full-fledged on him. I'll just say it. That he's not a winning player and leave it at that. He's not. Okay? Then you have Phil who's come in and he's, hey, look, he gave Melo that deal. So, if anyone's to blame for him being there, it's Phil Jackson. Now, maybe he didn't want to maybe he didn't want his first act as president of the team to get rid of Melo, but now he has to live with it. Or at the very least try to trade him. But if that's what he's trying to do. Now, on the other hand, you said maybe he's playing mind games with him. Obviously, he's been known in his heyday to play mind games with Kobe, to play mind games with Shaq, to use those as kind of motivational tools. Maybe that's what he was trying to do with Carmelo. But Carmelo is a little bit different animal than dealing with Shaq and Kobe, who are winning-like players and want to win. And Carmelo, I'm not going to say he does not want to win, but I don't think he's willing to work and do what it takes to be a winning player. Or be a championship player, or be on a great team. So, maybe that's what if that's what Phil was going for. Obviously, it did not work because he's dealing with a totally different beast here than Carmelo. But I don't think he was. I think he legitimately does not want him here, and he's trying to kind of push him out by saying these negative things, so he could waive his no trade clause, and so he could accept a trade to, I don't know, the Clippers, Cleveland, wherever. I think that's
interesting. Do you think Carmelo is going to get traded at the deadline? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes? Wow, that would be crazy.
He will get traded. And I also want to mention, to add to the Knicks circus, it has been mentioned, I don't think it's been mentioned enough. It was mentioned when it happened, but the Derrick Rose thing is one of the funniest things that's happened. This guy left the team out of nowhere, didn't tell anyone anything. It's laughable as I'm saying. He didn't tell anyone anything. And rumor has it he was this close to quitting the league until, I don't know, his brother or his mother talked him out of it. Probably told him, what are you, insane? You're making like millions of dollars.
I guess that just goes to show when you play for the Knicks how bad and depressing it could get.
It's absurd. If that doesn't add to their circus atmosphere, I don't know what does. You had a player that legitimately wanted to quit in the middle of the season, not even in the middle, almost the middle, for reasons only known to him. Because come on, the guy has been stealing money for years. I'm talking about Rose with his injuries and still getting paid. So all of a sudden he wants to quit. It's absurd. It only shows his character and his level of actually wanting to be an NBA player and actually wanting to be a winning player as well. But anyways, that just adds to the Knicks circus. That's all. I just wanted to throw that little tidbit in because I thought it was hilarious, and we could not talk about the Knicks without mentioning that.
I did forget about that, but yes, I remember that. I don't know. Derrick Rose could be a depressed guy. He never really got back to the level he used to play at before he got those 2 seasons worth of injuries, and I could see him quitting sometime soon. It's like Kobe. Kobe could have still played last year, but he didn't want to play at a level that wasn't, Kobe level.
Right.
So, anyways, we'll be back. We got a couple more segments, a couple more topics to roll through before we got you all caught up on NBA stuff. This has been Sports Break. We'll be back.